Up guys, in this training we're going to go ahead and talk about setting up your macros specific to your body type, okay, for continued weight loss. The key is continued weight loss, okay? So in this training we're going to go ahead and cover macros. What are they? Why are they important? Why are tracking your calories and protein superior to really focusing on all four macronutrients? And ultimately, what macro composition is going to be best for your body type? And when do we adjust your macros so therefore we can continue losing weight while trying to build the most muscle as we can? Let's dive in. So your macronutrients are your carbs, fats, proteins, and alcohol, and they make up your food. So essentially, whenever you're looking at a food label, you're always going to go ahead and look at the carbs, fats, proteins. Alcohol is not going to be on the food label, but by looking at that food label, okay, and you are now going to be able to decide what types of food that you want based on knowing what macro composition is best for your body type. I hope I'm making sense. And also, it's really important because they are really essential for body composition and what energy source your body's using. And so body composition basically just states that we are gaining the most amount of muscle we can, okay, while being at the body fat percentage that we desire. In most cases, most of us are trying to lose weight and put on muscle at the same time. And depending on the macro composition for your body type, we can make that possible. Also, what macros are is, again, food is energy, right? So depending on how much fat or carbohydrate we're having, okay, your body is going to decide where it's getting its energy from. And we know that depending on what body type you are, you're going to be best off either getting energy from carbs or fats. Hope I'm making sense. So what are the three body types? You have your ectomorph, your mesomorph, and your endomorph. And the ectomorph is the hard gainer. This is someone that is very hard for them to put on muscle, and it's hard for them to lose weight. They usually lose weight at a very slow rate. Most of the time, this person is going to do really well off more carbs and lower fat, okay? We tend to respond best to higher carb meals that are primarily, okay, predominant in protein as well, okay, but also with lower fat, okay? So our bodies prefer using carbs as our fuel source. Now, your mesomorph, you can kind of go either or. This is someone that we despise in the gym because mesomorphs can put on muscle, but they can also lose fat easy as well, okay? And so generally they want to be, even keel in the middle with moderate carbs and moderate fat. And then if you're someone that's an endomorph, generally someone that looks at food and like, oh man, I'm going to gain weight, okay? Generally, you guys are going to be best off having lower carbs and higher fat foods, okay? What this is saying is that as long as you're tracking your food, which by the way, you guys should be tracking your food, it's very important. As long as you track your calories and protein, that's what matters. Remember in lesson number 1, we talked about calories in versus calories out. In order for us to lose fat, right, and to lose weight, we just have to eat in calorie deficit. By the way, that's why I'm saying your energy balance is most important, right? So as you can see this pyramid, the energy balance were calories, right? As long as we're eating less calories and drinking less calories than what we're burning in a day, that's really important. You're going to see the second thing that's most important is your macronutrients, right? And again, what we discovered is that depending on what macronutrient profile you have, okay, it will depend on how much muscle you gain and what energy source your body's using. Micronutrients are your vitamins, minerals, and water. Okay, this is talking about more or less like calorie quality, like the quality of food that we're eating. Meal timing is what time we're eating these meals at. And then lastly, supplementation, right? And so this is pretty much like an order of importance, but you can see the base of the pyramid is energy balance. And that's what I'm saying. As long as you're tracking your calories and you're also getting your protein goal, you will be totally fine. So high carb, low fat, generally this is again with ectomorphs, right? Like we talked about, this is generally the macronutrient profile we're going to prefer, okay? Usually carbohydrates are best for performance. So these types of people will be able to absorb carbohydrates very easily and they'll get a really good pump in the gym, okay? So who's this for? This is people who want to gain muscle and reap the benefits of carbs for performance, ectomorphs, and flexible dieters. Flexible dieting is essentially just, again, like being able to have food that you quote unquote love and lose weight. Who's it not for? Type 2 diabetics, insulin resistant individuals, and those who energy crashes with higher carbs. So generally someone that is insulin resistant is not going to be able to use carbs as their main energy source because, well, quite frankly, when eating carbs, your insulin response comes up. High fat, low carb, who's this for? Type 2 diabetics, insulin resistant individuals, those who energy crashes with higher carbs. So pretty much the opposite of ectomorphs, right? Who's it not for? Ectomorphs, bodybuilders, those who have goals to have crazy muscle. Adjusting macros. So when you need to adjust macros, okay, essentially this is where we want to track your weight. If you're not tracking your weight, you're not going to understand what the concept of a trend is. And a trend is pretty much just saying that your body weight will plateau for at least 3 weeks. Trends happen in 3 weeks. They don't happen in 1 or 2, they happen in 3. Okay? So when you want to adjust your macros is when your body weight plateaus or when you're feeling low energy, when your energy is not sufficient and something's up. You want to try to experiment with different macro composition profiles so therefore you can maximize the energy that you're getting out of your body. And then maintenance phases. So generally after cutting phase, which we'll talk about in the sustainable fat loss method, is when you're going to adjust your macros. When to adjust down. Anytime that you're going to adjust down is when your weight loss per week is under the band of acceptance. So if a 200-pound male wants to lose 0.5 to 0.7% of his body weight per week, which is 1 to 1.4 pounds a week, if he loses 0.8 pounds, which is under the 1, we're going to go ahead and adjust it down, so therefore we can speed up the weight loss process. And the opposite's true with adjusting up. Anytime that you're losing weight too quickly, we're going to want to go ahead and adjust the calories up, so therefore you stay within the band of acceptance. Adjusting macros, where to adjust. So if higher carb, low fat dieter, always adjust your fats down first and then your carbs. So if you're an ectomorph, you're always going to be adjusting the fat first to basically a normalized level. Okay. And then you're going to go ahead and start, decreasing the carbs. And this is only when your weight loss plateaus. If you're a higher fat dieter, you're going to adjust carbs down first, right? So again, it just goes off of whether you're someone that is best with high fat or high carb. Protein is always going to stay the same, okay? So generally you're around 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of your body weight is how much protein you're going to want to consume. What to expect next, we're going to talk about meal timing, supplementation, quality food. We're going to talk about building muscle and training. We're going to talk about the sustainable fat loss method, so weight loss periodization, so how to keep it off for life. And we're also going to talk about the nutritional toolbox, which is something that I created to help you guys eat around social events, work, travel, and vacation.